Last week, Health USA 2025 commenced from Las Vegas. Over 12,000 attendees and more than 2,500 CEOs convened to transform the next decade of health. Jody Tropeano, Greene Health's head of content, joins me now. Jody, welcome to NYSE Live.
Thanks so much for having me in person this time.
Of course, so nice to finally meet you in person. So what were some of the key takeaways from health? Any standout moments?
Yes, multiple standout moments. I would say as far as takeaways go, you really couldn't go anywhere without AI being a part of the conversation. It was really active on the show floor, kind of hit you in the face the second you walked onto the show floor. But I think we're getting a little bit more realistic about its capabilities this year. So a lot less talk around the hype and what it could potentially do, and more talk around what it's actually doing right now. The health systems and providers and payers in the audience, they wanted to see a measurable impact of the AI solutions being touted and kind of prove the ROI that a lot of these companies are shouting about. So I think it was a little bit more realistic, which was nice to see. Also, longevity dominated the conversations, no surprise there. I think there were a lot of promises, a lot of new companies in the space, but we have a smart audience and they want to see the clinical evidence behind a lot of these solutions. There's a lot of noise out there, so how can we weed through it and see what's actually going to help people at scale, not just people who can afford those solutions.
You talked about separating AI hype from AI reality. What was some of that ROI and what were some of those tangible results that we're seeing in this space?
Yeah, I think a lot of talk around clinical documentation. Those companies really dominated the show floor. Open Evidence announced a $200 million raise at a $6 billion valuation. They're really kind of putting their stake in the ground as a major player. So, they're heavy in research, but they're going into other areas. I also think a lot of the big tech companies, they really are showing their muscle when it comes to healthcare. And, years ago when we thought, what is Amazon and Google going to do in healthcare? I think actually OpenAI, Anthropic, those companies are moving at a much faster pace than even, Amazon, Google 10 years ago. So I think, big tech and what they're doing, and they're really getting into the application layers with providers and with payers and figuring out what are your pain points and how can we work with you to build something unique for your business to solve it.
Were there any announcements or partnerships that came out of the conference?
Oh yeah, so many. The ones I'm most excited about were around women's health. There were some really major announcements in women's health. Two on the main stage that I'm really excited about. Jody Newhouser, who's a longtime women's health entrepreneur, she announced the new company 51 Ends. So 51 ampersand if you're looking it up. And it's a women-led membership platform trying to be almost the AARP for women's health. And then also Jessica Federer, who I know is a friend of the New York Stock Exchange, she announced the Women's Health Fund, which is the life sciences fund of funds with 60 billion assets under management. So also menopause plays from Hims and Hers, from Oscar Health and Electra Health. So just, a lot of people talking about women's health, but this year we saw it put into action.
And I know this event took place in Las Vegas and there was a great headline on your website, what happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas. So why is it important to get this message out into the world about all of these amazing things that these healthcare companies are doing?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of negative media attention around healthcare right now, given the government shutdown is largely due to disagreements on health policy. So, there's a lot of challenges. It's a really complex industry, but I think walking the show floor and seeing all of these budding companies and startups, going to our startup pitch competitions, hearing people like Mark Cuban give the audience a lot of hope.
Jody, I'm just going to pause you for one moment. I just want the viewers to know that Scott Balfour, the CEO of Emera, is signing the guest book. He has come down from the boardroom. This is the ritual that takes place before every bell ringing ceremony. So we have an exclusive look at Scott signing that guest book. And in just 7 minutes, he'll be ringing the opening bell. After this point, the group will go up to the bell and have their moment at the bell. So Jody, I just want to get back to, yes, it's very exciting. It's an exciting morning every single morning at the New York Stock Exchange. We do it twice a day, every day. So I'm so sorry, can you?
I think there's a true power in live events, bringing people together. There's a lot of noise online. There's a lot of AI generated content out there, but I think there's something about hearing the latest developments right from the executives that are doing it that's really powerful and really important.
And I know that in the pandemic, everything kind of went virtual. Do you think there's any significance in this many people in the healthcare space 12,000 people joining like in person, face to face.
Yes.
Was that a standout for you?
Yes, there's so much energy. When you bring all of those minds together under one roof, there's just a palpable energy in the room. You're all cheering for each other, and there's a real sense of collaboration. And even amongst competitors, we had a lot of competitors speak on stage together. We had Nabla and Ambience, Hims and Hers and Row. We had OpenAI, Microsoft and Google on stage together. It's kind of like that rising tide lifts all ships mentality, which is really nice. And you may not see that virtually, but you do see that in person.
Yeah, I've heard that at conferences before, like even competitors are getting together. And I think there's a greater mission here is to be helpful, really.
Yeah.
And what is your hope for the next health conference?
Well, we didn't quite get Oprah Winfrey this year, but I hope we get her to come speak next year. So, that's just my own personal.
I hope so too.
Yeah, but I think just more action, more doing, less talk, more getting kind of into the weeds and fixing a lot of these complexities in healthcare, and more announcements.
Amazing. Jody Tropeano, Greene, Health Head of Content. Thank you so much for joining us at the New York Stock
Thanks
Exchange.
for having me.